So it's obviously this movie is based on such an iconic book that so many people like grew up reading either in school or just for fun. And I know you've worked with Emerald before, but she comes to you and says that adapting Wuthering Heights into a movie is going to be her next project, and she wants you to do the production design for it. What's kind of going through your head at that point? Is that like an exciting challenge to jump into, or is it more of a like, how are we going to pull this off kind of feeling?
It's a bit of a combination of both, and I can literally had that exact feeling was I cannot wait to read this. How are we going to do it? And now I can't wait to actually make it. Yeah, it was like that whole roller coaster. And I think the joy of working with Emerald for the second time was that we already had a sort of a dialogue. We already knew each other. So she actually spoke to me before I read her screenplay to let me know what her ambitions and desires were. So I went in, read it, already knowing that she wanted me to build everything on a soundstage. She said she just wanted never to leave the studio. Everything that we see was going to be on a soundstage. So being able to read her script with that in mind, it meant my first thoughts, which are usually your strongest, were already being defined in that direction, sort of thing. So off I went, and it was, yeah, one of the best scripts I've ever read as a production designer. Her stage descriptions, there is nothing better than reading, like for instance, the skin room. The description of that skin room was just like, let me at it. Come on, yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything. I kept going, hang on a minute, a doll's house, you know? Oh no, oh my God. And yeah, it's raining in Wuthering Heights. Oh my God, just kept going on and on and on. It was brilliant.
Sure, totally. And there are so many like just different scenes or different parts and locations of this movie that I love to look at. Like you said, the skin room really stuck out to me. Like seeing that in theater for the first time, that was just like this is something
Wow.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen
yeah, yeah.
before.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting because I think we were like, if we could do smell-o-vision or touch-o-vision, because you almost want all the other senses to be involved, especially in things like that. I want people like we could none of us could not stop touching that wall. There's something really you just want to squidge into it. It was amazing. Yeah.
Sure, sure, definitely. And I'm curious to ask, how, if at all, kind of your vision for the production design changes when you like start working on the movie. Like, I'm sure you go into filming with a plan for how it's going to look, like you're doing all the sets and everything. But do you find that plan changing at all? Like when you actually get there and the cameras start rolling, how does like the end result of what Wuthering Heights looks like compared to like what you were picturing in your mind when you were reading that script for the first time?
Yeah, well, it took a beat to actually find the visual language, as much as I'd had that discussion with Emerald, and it there was lots of toing and froing, different images. And then when we landed on the sort of more broader structures, like the actual shape of Wuthering Heights with that sort of Gothic arch tunnel, that was sort of defined because we were going to be filming on a soundstage. I wanted to have as many layers between of walls and rocks before we got to the translight, because that I didn't just want it open to the moors. I just thought that was too scary, and it had to sustain quite a few scenes, sort of thing. And I guess what's great is when you build something of that scale, it took about 10, 12 weeks to build that. And we were all on site, like all our offices were there. So Emerald's office was there. So we could daily go and watch the build happening, go and see the paint colors and things like that. So it gave us all the opportunity to slightly, oh, well, can we make that bit of rock a bit further back? Can we have a one, so we were able to change the build as we went on. Basically, I also had such a great team. I've got a great construction crew who were up for that as well. A lot of the painters and carpenters that work for me are sort of fine artists at the weekends, and paint and sculpt. So they could bring that element of their work to this as well, particularly for the rocks, or I mean, just about anything, even the doors that we designed for the stable block. We built it one way, but as we were building, we realized it was too wooden, and I think you just catch it for a beat. There's all this red leather that's been sort of like pinned onto the inside of it to give that weird feeling. God knows, it's not necessarily period correct, but it's not period incorrect either. Who knows why they would have put red leather on the back of stable doors.
Sure.
But it made sense to us. So yes, those things sort of evolved because we were all there during the build process, and that was great to be able to do that.
Sure, I love that. I love that. And kind of getting into some of the specifics. I mean, the design and the look for the titular Wuthering Heights, like we're talking about, I'm so in love kind of with how it conveys so much feeling, like without having to say anything. Like just the way it's filmed, the way it looks, it's so oppressive and ominous. So can you talk about like
Yes.
the process of figuring out like how the estate was going to look and how you kind of went about like making it feel so gloomy, just kind of like from the
Yeah.
visuals alone?
I think we knew that every surface I wanted it to feel wet, sweating, or dripping with water or some sort of bodily fluid. It just needed to feel alive. And whenever you have surfaces that have reflections on them, I think it all gives something uneasy. You know, is it breathing? Is it moving? What made it happen? There's something other happening. So that was like across the board, every surface was going to reflect or be able to take water as well. So once we built a little bit to how I alluded before, because we're on a sound stage, and I had a certain size of stage that we had, everything's sort of built within a circle so that we get the horse and carriage in and out without turning it around. So it's a circuit basically in this on the sound stage. And once you start getting things that you need to have, then you sort of like begin to design outwards from those boundaries, which are really helpful to have boundaries. Otherwise, you sort of don't know where you're going. And I think the idea that we were able to put we like the tiles on the wall, which are sort of high gloss tiles, are a little bit of a nod to what's really used in that part of the UK. They do build houses with big brick tiles, but not black shiny ones like we had. But the proportions are right. And that was enough of the broad brushstroke to say we're making a period drama, but it's going to be in this weird heightened version of a 14-year-old's dream of imagination of what she thought when she read this book. So it was great when you have a writer director to do things like that, to show the concepts of what we're doing. And we made models and we had loads of different runs of what that color should be and the size of those tiles. Again, the workshops are all there so Emerald could come and have a look. So when you have a director who's also written the adapted the screenplay, you get the immediate answer. Yes, that works. No, that doesn't. And that's just that just cuts through everything. You don't have to phone up. Wait, what do you mean? I just take her to the workshop and go, this is what we're going to put on the wall. Does this work? Yeah. And then we had a big discussion about why we'd change it for white in the Gothic arch. Because at one stage we were going to do it the other way around so that the dirt would look. But actually the house doesn't look that dirty, so that until we get later, as it sort of destroys a little bit, but also it gives that great opportunity to see red, splat up the wall and that, yeah, that wonderful moment.
Sure, totally, totally. I love it. And kind of like just bouncing off that. I mean, you have the Wuthering Heights, but then Edgar's mansion, like, is so different. Like, that's a house
Yeah,
I would actually want to live in. It feels so alive. So,
yeah,
how did
yeah.
that, like, the process of making that one kind of differ? Like, was it a totally different, like, you had to basically restart from scratch when doing that?
Yes and no. Again, the brilliant stage description that comes very early in the description of Thrushcross Grange is actually the doll's house. So I did it the other way around. We built the doll's house, designed the doll's house, and then built the life-size version of the doll's house rather than the other way around. The doll's house was slightly out of proportion because we needed we knew we wanted that hand to come in with a model of Margot's character into the shot. So that's where we started, from that little bit of detail that made those windows that big, that then on a real house would be that big. And what's great then is all the characters in Thrushcross Grange for real are slightly too small, because our original is slightly out. I think it's a quarter scale model, which is a good scale, but it's slightly off what it should be. So our ceilings are a little bit taller and our windows are a little bit bigger. So once you start on that version, doing it that way, everything goes, it just gives you that slight unease of I can't put my finger on it, but it's not quite right. And that's the feeling we wanted about the whole film, of just something just hovering between reality and unreality. Yeah.